Hi, it's James Thurston here to talk about another influential drummer. And this is a drummer that really came to a lot of prominence in the 80s, and I'll explain that. But for me, I became a huge fan of drum and bugle corps when I was in high school. And watching some of these corps and listening to the music they were playing, I started listening to the artist of the music they were playing. And one of the artists that was played a lot was a Chuck Mangione, or Mangione, depending on who you're talking to. And I had seen like the Bridgemen play Land of Make Believe, and I think it was the Freelancers play Bellavia or Bellavia, again, depending on who you're talking to. And the Blue Devils had done Legend of the One-Eyed Sailor. And I had heard all these tunes, and so I went out and I bought an album by Chuck Mangione, and it was an orange album. I'm trying, gosh, what was it called? Now I can't think of it because I've got the camera on. But it was had like they were in a balloon. It was a graphic. It wasn't like a real picture, but in a balloon up in the air, and it was it might have just been called The Land of Make Believe Live or whatever, but it was a live album. And anyway, I just fell in love with the drumming and the tunes, and it was Steve Gadd. I think there might have been another drummer on there too, John LaBarbera or something. And so anyway, I started going back and buying Chuck Mangione albums, and there was another one called Alive, and a lot of early to mid-70s Chuck Mangione. Steve Gadd was playing the drums. And I thought, boy, I've heard that name before. And I started looking on the back of records and stuff like that, and seeing that he had played with Paul Simon and had done a lot of studio work. Now, I credit Modern Drummer with bringing and putting a face on a lot of drummers. And what I mean by that is, back in the day, before YouTube and the internet, everything like that, if you wanted to find out anything, you either read it on the back of an album jacket, a full album, and you open it up, and there was notes on the recording and who played what, and you would see studio drummers like Hal Blaine and John Guerin. A lot of these names would pop up, and Steve Gadd was one that you started to see in the 70s morphing into the 80s. And then you started to see him coming up in jazz circles and pop circles and rock circles, and you think, wow, this guy's doing it all. And articles about him and stuff in Modern Drummer, to where he became at one point probably the most emulated drummer out there. And I started, stealing a lot of ideas. And because I thought, man, I really like this groove. Oh, it's Steve Gadd. It's 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover by Paul Simon. Or it's Late in the Evening, and it's a quasi-Latin beat, Mozambique. And then, oh, wait, I kind of hear this same type of figure with Chick Corea and whatever. So I would just listen to different things. And Steve Gadd was on a lot of it. And I stole a lot of ideas and became a huge fan of his. And I think myself and a lot of other people try to copy what we heard. Now, eventually, DCI put out, and it's not Drum Corps, it was Drummers Collective, I think. I think it was Rob Wallace, put out these videos, and Steve Gadd was one of the early ones. And he started demonstrating some of the things that he had done. Some of the grooves with Chick Corea. I know he placed brushes on a box on, I think it was Up Close was one of them, and the other one might have just been called Steve Gadd or something. But he plays the Late in the Evening groove, the 50 Ways groove, and of course, there was a book by Rick Latham that came out that had some transcriptions, some Steve Gadd stuff in there. He became not only a drummer, but he had a style that incorporated a lot of rudimental things in it, but it applied to the drum set a different way. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. I started to steal a lot of the ideas, the Rademachews, the way he did it, and playing the rolls and playing some open-handed things and a lot of diddles and rolls that were just taking it away from the basic stuff. But at the same time, you'd hear him play on somebody's record and he might just play a basic groove, but he just filled in all the gaps and played with everybody. And he became somebody I highly copied. Now, early on, I would play what I thought I heard. When you start to see him demonstrate it, you might realize, oh, instead of hitting the hi-hat, he's doing it with his foot. You wouldn't have known that if you didn't see it. So you start to, You know, nowadays everybody's like, that's not how he does it. He uses his left hand. How would we have known? Just by listening. So the point is, you know, I grew up stealing ideas and copying. And again, from one of the most influential drummers ever, I bought the book Gadd during COVID, and a lot of his solo stuff, a lot of stuff he has. He did the Central Park thing with Simon and Garfunkel, and anyway, just a tremendous drummer, and you'll see him on everything. But he's played with Clapton and you name it. But still one of the guys that's highly touted as one of the best ever. And so because he was so influential to me, I put him on that list as one of the best ever. So a drummer that I loved and still love, Steve Gadd.